So who, hands up, be honest, we're in church, don't lie. Who goes on Facebook? Thank you. Who goes on some other trendy social media sites that I'm too old to understand now, like Snapchat? What is that? Snapchat, anybody? No? Okay, we're all bored. Kudos to the trendy lady who's on Snapchat. Excellent. Okay, so on all of these, any Instas? Anybody on Insta? Insta? Oh, good. Okay, cool. I just go on Insta to stalk my teenager. It's quite good fun. So on all of these social media sites, there are memes. Does everybody know what a meme is? No. No? Excellent. A meme can be serious, but mainly they're funny. And it's normally a picture and then some sort of funny quote or saying about the picture. They're mostly funny, okay? Sometimes you can have quite serious ones about deep and meaningful things, but I don't tend to read those. I like the funny ones. When you have these memes, you get a trend going of things that everybody jumps on the bandwagon. So there'll be a sudden trend of the same type of meme. And one of those trends has been the "I was so many years old when I found out." So I'm going to show you some to help me out, because some of you are looking at me going, what is she talking about? I've got some on my, say this is a thing. So it's about finding out something that you may not have known before, and it's how many years old were you when you found that out? So we've got the first one. Right. I was today years old when I found out that the L in Staples is really a half-open staple. Can you see? Now, I didn't say it was going to blow your mind or that it was going to, I just said it's fun. So that's it. Did anybody already know that the L in Staples was a half-open staple? Oh, there's always one. Yeah, okay. All right, next one. We'll have to go a bit quicker. Right, now, I'm a Diet Coke addict, okay? I drive around with 24 cans in the back of my car all the time. How old were you when you found out that this is actually a straw holder? Who knew that you can put your straw in a can of Coke? Isn't that genius? It's not if you don't drink Coke, but I thought it was really cool. So if we move on. All right, this blew my mind. How old were you when you found out the drawer on your stove is for keeping food warm and not for your pots and pans? Who's got pots and pans under their oven? Right, you're all going to go home now and try put food in it, aren't you? Okay, this is brilliant. Okay, this is excellent. How old were you when you found out that you can use your frying pan holder handle as a spoon holder? Genius, right? It's great. No more mucky bits all over the side or having to get a spoon rest. Okay, move on. Right, this is, you've got to have watched Toy Story for this, so I'm sorry if you haven't. How old were you when you realised that Sid from Toy Story, that's the first Toy Story. So have you all watched Toy Story, most of you? There's a really nasty kid next door called Sid who's horrible. And in Toy Story 3, he's the bin man. Again, you've got to watch films quite closely. I think, is that the last one? I can't remember. Oh, yes, it is. Could we just go back to Sid? There we go. So, what's that got to do with anything, you ask yourselves? As part of my course, we do lots of different modules. And one of the modules that we've done very recently, particularly actually when Simon asked me to speak, which is why I'm talking about it, was on the Gospel of John. And we had to write an essay. I don't like writing essays. It involves sitting still. And I'm better at talking than I am at writing. And one of the things that we talked about when we were looking at the Gospel of John was the I am sayings. So you all know, shout me out some I am sayings. The bread of life. Brilliant. The bread of life. The way. Good shepherd, brilliant. So I'm going to talk about today, I am the light of the world. Okay, and has everybody vaguely heard of the saying, I am the light of the world? Yeah, okay. And when you're a kid growing up in Sunday school, which I did, quite often you learn the I am sayings separate from everything else. So you learn them as a block. You do like, it's like a sermon series, but in kids groups, so you do one a week. And they're not really in context of how Jesus said them. It's just what we do is we go, oh, they all start with the same 2-3 words. We'll use those. They fit neatly into a little section. And so you learn the I am sayings. So I was 46 years old when I discovered the context of I am the light of the world. And in a similar way to the you can put a spoon in the handle of your frying pan, it blew my mind. So I have come to share with you today what I have learnt about the I am saying, I am the light of the world. So when Jesus said, I am the light of the world, he didn't just wake up one morning and think, I'm going to say, I am the light of the world today. He said it in a very particular place, in a very particular time. He said it during the Feast of Tabernacles. I'm not going to go into what the Feast of Tabernacles is because life is too short. But what is key about the Feast of Tabernacles is that there were lots of different ceremonies that took place during that feast. So it wasn't just a one-day feast, it was a several-day thing. And during that time, lots of different things happened. And Jesus was in the temple and he was teaching. First fun fact, Jesus taught in the court of the women. Okay? The reason he taught there was so that everybody could hear him. Men, women, people of other nations, everybody. So his message was for everyone. While he was there, he talked about being the light of the world. I am the light of the world. And it crops up several times in John. And we haven't had the Bible reading today, have we? Controversial. I might have to read the Bible. Hang on. Okay, we'll do that in a minute. So, while Jesus is there, he's talking about, I am the light of the world. And this would have meant something to the people. And that is because during the Feast of Tabernacles, something happened. A special ceremony happened where they lit these absolutely huge, I want to say candle, but they weren't really candles. They were ginormous. And they were in big golden bowls. And basically you had to climb up. I did some reading around this. It was the young priests that climbed up so I wouldn't be climbing up there. They would climb up and they would light these huge bowls. There was a ceremony of light. That's what they did. And another little fun fact that I really enjoyed was the wicks that they used for this were old priest garments. So a bit of recycling, which is good to know. But that gives you a size. If that's the wick, that gives you an idea of the size of these lights. And if we move on to my next picture, what would happen, this is the best I could find. The internet wasn't very helpful when it came to pictures. But I hope that gives you an idea. What happened when they lit those huge bowls was that it would light the whole temple. But not only that, the light was so bright that it lit up the whole city. Now, when we were in our lectures, they were on Zoom, which is always a bit weird. But the lady teaching us, she was brilliant. And she was like, and of course, there were no street lights. And we were like, you could hear it on Zoom. Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. So actually, when they lit the lights in the temple, okay, and that was to mark, part of that was about marking the end of the longer summer days and moving in towards autumn and winter. And when they did that, the temple then lit up the whole of the city. So the temple was bringing light to the city. So when Jesus talks about he's being light of the world, what he's talking about is actually, look at this. Look, this is what you're doing. You're lighting the temple, you're lighting the city, but I am the light of the world. And for those people there, that's a moment. Now, some of them didn't like it. They didn't like what Jesus was saying. They didn't like the claims that he was making. But that was what he's saying. And what he said was, not I am the light of Jerusalem, the city. He said the world. So everything outside of Jerusalem as well. Again, you can hear them all sort of like, their minds blown. Because Jesus was talking to them in a language using images that they understood. And he didn't pick a random day to say, I am the light of the world. He picked the day where they lit the lights that lit up the city. It was deliberate. I always just kind of thought that the I am sayings were just like cool little sayings that Jesus came up with one day. And that's not to be disrespectful. I didn't realize that actually it was really deliberate what he said. When he said, I am the water of life, he did it on a day where there was a water ceremony. Everything that God does, he does for a reason. We may not understand it. I frequently don't understand the things that God does, but he does it for a reason. He's really deliberate in what he does. And Jesus was really deliberate, and he was trying to get the attention of the people who was listening. Not just certain people, but everybody. The love of God is for everybody. Doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you've never been to church before. It doesn't matter if you've done stuff that you think God wouldn't like. It doesn't matter. His light and his love is for everybody. And it's always been for everybody. Right from when Jesus first said those words, I am the light of the world. Now, the reading that I picked for today is very short, you'll be pleased to know, but I need to read it. So this is from John chapter 9. As he went along, he saw a blind man from birth. His disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Neither this man nor his parents sinned, said Jesus, but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. As long as it is day, we must do the works of him who sent me. Night is coming when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world. After saying this, he spat on the ground, made some mud with the saliva, put it on the man's eyes. Go, he told him, wash in the pool of Siloam. This word means sent. And so the man went, washed, and came home seeing. This is very deliberate. This is a little thing that John does when he's writing the Gospel of John, is he puts something out there, a statement, So Jesus says, I am the light of the world. And that's not the first time he says it. He also says it in chapter 8. And then he does something which illustrates the statement that he's just said. So he talks about, I am the light of the world. And then he physically heals a blind man and brings light literally to someone who is in the dark. So he's doing what he says. I love the next bit. If you're a bit bored later and you want something to read the next bit, because then it's all about how they argue about whether he's really the blind man or not. He comes back and he can see, and they're like, is that the man who's blind? No, I don't think it is the man who was blind, because now he can see, so it can't be him. It just looks like him, and it's quite funny. And he says, no, I am the man. I am he who was sat begging, and I can now see. And when that man met Jesus, his world completely changed. Instant. Now, for some of us, when we meet Jesus, it isn't instant. It's a slow job, slow burner. And that's okay, because we're all different. But in this case, when this man met Jesus, the truth that Jesus said, I am the light of the world, was literally true instantly for him, and it made a difference to him. And Jesus is demonstrating, not just saying things, not just teaching in the temple, but then when he goes outside the temple, he's doing what he said that he would do. So Jesus is in the context, his context of the city, in the temple. He is talking using illustrations that the people there will be able to relate to. He is relevant to his context. How often are we relevant to our context? Sometimes it's really easy as Christians to get a bit, what my mum would call being a holy huddle, and we get a little bit, well, we better not go do that. I'm not sure about that. Best just to stay over here, I think. I'm not sure I want to get involved in that. Now, obviously, having God in your life means you need to make wise decisions about what you do or don't do. Please don't go home and tell people that I told you to go and do crazy things that are not godly, because that's not what I'm saying. Use wisdom. But it is important for us to be in our context and be relevant to our context, because there will be times where we can shine God's light in a way, in a context that other people then can relate. Okay, if we spend all our time, and it happens a lot. I went to church one Sunday, and quite a while ago, and the vicar there was talking about the Alpha course. Has anybody heard of the Alpha course? It's a course where people can find out, ask questions about God. And he said, who are you going to invite? And everybody was like, just sit in the pew, hopefully he doesn't notice. And he's like, who are you going to invite? Who are the people who don't know Jesus yet, who you can invite? And it really struck me, because I realized I didn't know any, literally. Because I'd ended up in a situation where I worked in a church. I had a husband who knew Jesus. I had friends who knew Jesus. And I didn't know anybody else who didn't know Jesus. And so, in a mad fit of craziness, I joined a netball team, which was a bad idea on the netball front. But I made friends with lots of people who didn't know about Jesus. And I was able, eventually, to share some of Jesus with them. Now, none of them ever came to an Alpha course, by the way. But I was able to shine my light a bit in that context. But it woke me up to the fact that I cannot shine my light in the world if everybody already knows the light. Light is only good if it's dark. Yeah? My son, Malachi, he's got lots of special needs. And he loves Lights. He loves them. He likes them on, he likes them off. He likes them multicolored. So we have flashing bulbs in our house. Nice. Headache. And we're constantly saying to him, Malachi, you do not need the light on. The curtains are open. It's daylight. It makes no difference if the light is on. To him it does, because it involves flicking a switch, and he does love to flick a switch. So that for him is what does it. But the light is pointless because it's already light. You need to take your light and shine it in the dark. That's what it's for. Do we live out what we say? So maybe we go out into the world and we're shining our light and we're saying, actually, I don't think that's right. You know, I think that's really unfair. That's a cause of injustice over there. I'm going to go and say, do we back it up and live our life that same way? Because I don't know about you, but I am really good at shining my light at other people. Oh, they need a little bit of light over there. They're not doing that quite right. I'm really good at that. Oh, well, of course, I wouldn't do that. All of those sorts of things. Am I letting God's light up everything in me? Are there areas of my life, and I'll tell you right now, going to be a vicar or not going to be a vicar, there are areas of my life where I still need God to shine his light. So that's something that we need to think about as well. Because we are here to be the light. That means living in light. It means being obedient to God all the time. Have you ever done that thing where you think, oh, good, I'm at home, so I can relax now? So if I shout at my kids, it's all right, as long as I don't shout at anybody else's. If I'm snipey about my husband because he hasn't done the dishes again, it's all right, because, like, nobody will know. Not true. God knows. We need to be light in our homes and in our families, more so, really. Because they're the people that see us every day. It's no good if I stand up here and my sons see me standing up here and saying all of this, and then I go home and don't live like I have the light of Christ. It's really important that we do that. A few weeks ago, it was my birthday, and my bestie, she's great. She gave me some books because she knows I love books. And when she gave them to me, she said, "Oh, they're really good. I really thought you'd like them, and don't worry, they're fine to be on the shelf of a vicar." And I was like, "Yeah, what?" And she said, it's okay, they're suitable." I was like, mate, if they are not suitable to be on the shelf of a vicar, they shouldn't be on my shelf. Because a vicar is not anything special, we're just Christians. And if it isn't suitable to be on my shelf, because I'm a vicar, it shouldn't be on my shelf as a Christian. Okay? I'm not Laine, like Sunday vicar, and then not the rest of the week. I've got to be living out that light every day. By the way, there was nothing wrong with the books. They were fine. When you look up about shining light, the phrase, shine a light, it says, in whichever dictionary I looked it up on the internet, it says to put the spotlight on an issue so that others notice it and pay attention to it. And as Christians, we have a duty to shine our light on big, national, global issues. Issues of injustice, issues of food poverty, child poverty, education, environment, politics. We need to be shining a light and calling out in appropriate ways the people who are not doing the right thing. We have an amazing freedom in this city, in this country, that we can vote, okay? And we can write to MPs. And I'm not talking, I'd written this sermon before I knew that there was an election, so I'm not talking about that. But generally, we have a responsibility where you see injustice, that is darkness, to shine a light on it and to get involved. And there are myriad ways that you can do that. You can do it sat at home and write letters. You can get out and volunteer at the food bank or at Gloucestershire Bundles or whatever, an environmental group, whatever it is that you're really into. But that's about shining our light in the world, God's light to the world. It's not just about us in our house or in our community. It is about the world as well. So, in our song in a few minutes, I chose it because there's a line in there about shine your light, let the whole world see. And what I would love you to do while you sing is I would like you to think about and ask God, where does his light need to be shone? And how can you help with that? And be honest with him. He might say, well, actually, Laine, there's some stuff in your life that we need to shine a light on. In which case, if that's good, go pray with somebody afterwards. That's a great thing to do. Okay? There might be something in your employment where you're like, actually, I need to shine a light there. That person, everybody's horrible to them. I've never really worked in an office, so I don't know if people get left out in offices, so I'm sorry. But maybe there's somebody who really needs your light in your office. Maybe you're aware of stuff that's going on in your work that just isn't right, it isn't fair, it's not appropriate. You need to go shine a light in that. Ask God to help you and to find the agencies that you need to do that properly. In your wider community, and in the world, is there a world issue? You know, we've heard today about people, persecuted Christians in other nations. Maybe you need to get involved with some of the amazing Christian organisations that work with them to shine a light in those dark areas. So I pray that in the same way that when I was studying this at college, that it blew my mind and made me reconsider the phrase, I am the light of the world. I pray that it will do the same for you and that will have an impact on yourselves, on your friends and family, the wider community and the world. Amen.